I'm worried Star Trek is creating a James T. Kirk problem in Strange New Worlds Season 3. Captain James T. Kirk is one of the most iconic figures in science fiction history. He's brash, brilliant, loyal, and endlessly charismatic, a bold adventurer who helped define what it meant to sit in the captain's chair of the USS Enterprise. From William Shatner's original portrayal to Chris Pine's alternate timeline interpretation, Kirk has always stood tall at the heart of Star Trek. But now, Strange New Worlds Season 3 threatens to give us too much Kirk, too soon. Let's be clear, Paul Wesley's take on a young James T. Kirk isn't the problem. In fact, he brings a fresh charm and vulnerability to the role that fits a pre-TOS version of the legendary captain. But it's how Strange New Worlds is using him, and what it risks overshadowing, that has me worried. Season 3 might unintentionally sabotage the unique identity of Strange New Worlds and sideline its actual protagonist, Captain Christopher Pike. The Kirk creep is real. When Strange New Worlds premiered, its mission was clear, a return to episodic storytelling with a focus on Captain Pike's Enterprise, set in the years before Kirk would take command. It was a show built around exploring new life and new civilizations with a crew that felt both familiar and refreshingly new. But ever since Paul Wesley first appeared as a surprise alternate timeline Kirk in the Season 1 finale, there's been a slow but steady encroachment of the future captain's presence. Season 2 doubled down by bringing Kirk into the prime timeline, partnering him with Lon Noonien Singh in the excellent time travel episode Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And while that episode was one of the season's standouts, it also cracked open the door for more Kirk than the show might be able to handle. By the end of Season 2, Kirk had popped up again in Hegemony, working alongside Pike on a dangerous rescue mission. Season 3 is almost guaranteed to give him more screen time, and with the buzz around future Kirk/Spock moments and his rising role in Starfleet, there's a looming question. Is Strange New Worlds slowly becoming the James T. Kirk prequel show? Pike deserves the spotlight. Anson Mount's portrayal of Captain Pike has been nothing short of revelatory. A man burdened with the knowledge of his own tragic fate, Pike leads with empathy, wisdom, and a sense of moral clarity that makes him distinct from any other Trek captain. His arc, reconciling his future while living his present, is a deeply human journey, and Strange New Worlds gave him the chance to take center stage in a way Star Trek Discovery never quite allowed. But the more Kirk inches into the spotlight, the more Pike risks being sidelined. Season 2 already struggled to give Pike meaningful screen time in several episodes, with stories frequently shifting focus to other characters. While ensemble storytelling has always been part of Star Trek's DNA, this drift was especially notable given that Pike is supposed to be the emotional core of the series. If Kirk continues to rise in prominence during Season 3, it's hard not to see it as a narrative vote of no confidence in Pike, as if the writers are saying, "We know you love Kirk, so here he is." Again, that's a disservice to Pike's legacy and a distraction from what made Strange New Worlds special to begin with. Kirk without the crew feels hollow. Let's not forget that Kirk's original magic wasn't just in his swagger, it was in his relationships. The Kirk-Spock-McCoy triad remains one of the most iconic dynamics in science fiction history, and for good reason. Each man represented a part of the human psyche, logic, emotion, and the commanding center that balanced them. So far, Strange New Worlds hasn't had the time or justification to give us a proper version of this trio. Instead, we get a solo Kirk dropped into a crew that's not his own. Without Bones or even his full connection with Spock, he feels like a Kirk missing key parts of himself. Yes, there's chemistry between him and Lon, and the show is clearly exploring that romantic tension, but is that what fans want from James T. Kirk? And more importantly, is that what Strange New Worlds needs? Worse, by teasing Kirk's iconic future so heavily, the show risks turning him into a walking Easter egg instead of a well-rounded character. Every appearance becomes a wink to the audience. Hey, remember who this guy becomes? Which undercuts the organic development of both Kirk and the show around him. Lon and Kirk, an emotional dead end? Let's talk about the emotional elephant in the room, the budding and doomed romance between Lon and Kirk. Season 2's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow gave us a surprisingly touching glimpse into what might have been between them, But it was a relationship built on alternate timelines, memory wipes, and tragic inevitability. Now that both remember fragments of their time together, with Lon especially burdened by lost potential, season may 3rd revisit that unresolved spark. But narratively, this is dangerous ground. Lon is one of Strange New World's most interesting and emotionally complex characters, and tying her development too closely to a love interest, especially one destined for another ship, another crew, and another legacy, limits her arc. If Kirk becomes a fixture in her story, she may get pulled away from her own unique path, forced to orbit a character who doesn't even belong on this show long term. It's romantic drama without payoff, emotional stakes without resolution. Kirk can't stay. He won't stay. So why build a narrative house on sand? A shadow over Spock. Ethan Peck's Spock is also caught in the gravitational pull of James T. Kirk's legacy. While Strange New Worlds has taken commendable risks with Spock, including his romance with Nurse Chapel, there's always been an unspoken countdown clock ticking toward his inevitable friendship with Kirk. That relationship is so central to TOS that the prequel has to handle it carefully, but again, the danger is in rushing. Introducing Kirk too early undermines the slow burn nature of Spock's transformation into the Vulcan we know. If Season 3 pushes them closer together, it may feel like the writers are accelerating development to meet a legacy, rather than letting the character earn it. There's something poetic about knowing where Spock ends up, but watching him get there on his own terms. Kirk's early presence threatens to shortcut that process. The legacy prequel problem. This isn't just a Star Trek issue. It's a problem that plagues many legacy prequels. Shows like Gotham or Smallville often struggle to avoid overindulging in fan service by introducing iconic characters before their time. Once Batman or Superman looms too large, the show loses focus on what it was originally supposed to be about. Strange New Worlds was never meant to be the James Kirk Chronicles. Its pitch was bold and refreshing, a character-driven space adventure anchored by Pike, exploring new worlds with familiar yet unrefined versions of beloved characters. Bringing in Kirk as more than a guest star disrupts that balance. It doesn't feel earned, it feels like franchise gravity pulling the show off course. The solution? Slow down and respect the timeline. It's not too late. Kirk can and should have a role in Strange New Worlds, but only as a peripheral character. His cameos are fine. A few joint missions with Pike are acceptable. But Season 3 must resist the temptation to elevate him into a core member of the cast. The real power of Kirk's presence should be felt through potential, not screen time. He's the future, the legendary figure looming on the horizon, not the co-star of a show that's supposed to belong to someone else. Let Pike finish his story.